Not sure how much of this footage is gonna be making it into the vlog, but recording this bit just 5 minutes before midnight on, of course, April 23rd. And I've got, of course, Best Buy open, just waiting for pre-orders of the Switch 2 to go up. Got my cursor just over that eventual add to cart button on Best Buy. Oh, I'm really hoping I can get all this hoping I can get all this pre-ordered. Yeah, not sure if I'm gonna be able to get all of them. I'm mainly focusing on the console first, and then the Pro Controller and Mario Kart World. Yeah, I'm getting a physical copy despite how expensive it's gonna be, but yeah. Not sure what else I can say except fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. 5 minutes to go. Let's get it. Hopefully. I'm not even going to bother turning the lights on, but we got success. I got the console through Best Buy. Lines opened up 30 minutes late, but you know what? I'll take it. This roll has been rough. Best Buy was late. I heard reports about Walmart and Target taking forever to just load. I tried checking Walmart out of curiosity. I was stuck in like a capture loop for like a few minutes before the site finally timed out and kicked me out of line. And funny enough, I'm still in line for the Pro Controller and Mario Kart World at Best Buy. Go figure. Like, the accessories and games are taking longer than the console itself. Like, the console was the first thing that I was able to pre-order. I'm glad it was that, though, because I wanted to prioritize the console first and foremost, but this is a good start. So, for now, for the most part, roll on June 5th. Alright, so it is May 30th, which means we have less than a week to go until the Switch 2. And since that clip of me securing that pre-order ultra late at night, I have since gotten a few things since then that I forgot to record a clip for until now. So let's talk about those stuff. That stuff, as I stutter my words. Okay, so first up is, of course, a screen protector. I opted for a tempered glass screen protector from Amfilm. I've actually bought their screen protectors for stuff like Switch OLED, the original Switch, and Switch Lite for a good few years now, and I've had very good luck with these screen protectors. I've only broken one of them, and it wasn't because of a drop. It was actually because of a cat stepping on my Switch. So, yeah, felt pretty confident in getting this one, and I can't get over just how big the box for this thing is. I mean, yeah, the Switch 2 screen is quite big, so bigger screen protector, so there's that. And then I got myself a carrying case for the Switch 2. I don't remember which brand this is from. Obviously, it's not a licensed third-party case, as this is one of the few Switch 2 things that you can buy right now instead of having to just pre-order, as evident here. And I wanted to get a case that had... this is going to be a little difficult with one hand. Didn't bother to get out my tripod for this, but... there we go. I had to hold it down with my knee. But yeah, I opted for this case because I wanted to get one with good capacity for games, as well as having a deep pouch for accessories, because on my current Switch case, this back pouch I use for game carrying cases, because I like to carry most of my games with me instead of just a small number of them. And this one can hold a nice 10 games between these two flaps, and then the Switch 2 just slots right there. Really nicely laid out, and nicely made case too, so pretty happy with this. And this also gave me a good idea of how much bigger the Switch 2 is actually going to be. So here's my current Switch case. Again, I don't remember the brand that made this one, but yeah, it's a Pokemon one, and it's primarily why I have it. And you can see how I have this setup, where I have the game carrying cases in the back pouch, and then some more games right here. And this, I believe, was used for the lighting's poor right here. Let me turn my flash on. You can see, I believe this was used for the Joy-Con straps, if I remember correctly. And then the Switch just slots right there. And this is one of those cases that is technically cross-compatible with the Switch Lite, as there are some foam pads that would go into these bottom corners to fit the Switch Lite. So, and I did use this case with my Switch Lite as well when I daily drove that before the world shut down. But yeah, and you can see just how much bigger the Switch 2 case is compared to the Switch 1 case. But even this is still not as huge as the freaking Steam Deck case. It doesn't look like much, but yeah, the Steam Deck's case is well, actually, yeah, this is a better way to show. Yeah, the Steam Deck's case is a little bit thicker because, you know, the Steam Deck's a thicker handheld. So yeah, the Switch 2 is not going to be a small handheld. Certainly not as small as the original Switch. Fun. So, with a week to go, less than a week now, what have I been doing to pass the time until the magical day of June 5th? Well, firstly, been working through my game backlog, such as playing through the Switch remake of Super Mario RPG, which I got for my birthday last year. But I picked it back up earlier this month, and I've been loving it. It's such a charming game. It's just been a lot of fun. I love the writing that this game has, so I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I've also been sidetracked with another game. And that is Pokemon Yellow. Now, technically, I already finished this game, but randomly I got the idea of wanting to complete the Pokedex in this game. Let me explain. So, when I was finishing up my playthrough of this game last year, I was occasionally backing this file up with my GB operator. But every now and then, that little thing would erase the save file from this cartridge, and that would set me back like 5 to 7 hours. So I would be wasting even more time just trying to catch up. And because this is a Gen 1 game, the grinding in this game is awful. And I got so fed up with grinding by the end of the game that I decided to just use cheat codes in an emulator while catching up to give myself like 4 or 5 stacks of 99 rare candies to just expedite the grinding process. And because I have so many leftover rare candies, I was like, why don't I just go ahead and complete the deck, since this is the one version of Gen 1 where you can get all 3 Kanto starters in one file without having to do a bunch of resetting and trading. Although, a lot of Pokemon in this game are more difficult to get compared to, like, Red and Blue. Like Vulpix, for example. You can find it in the wild on Route 7 just fine in International Blue and Pokemon Green, but in Yellow specifically, Vulpix is only obtainable as a prize from the Game Corner, and that costs 1,000 coins. In addition to, like, Scyther and, of course, Porygon. And the most efficient way, without blowing through your savings, is to gamble, and I didn't really feel like wasting hours with gambling for certain Pokemon, especially since I had already beaten the league in this file. And so I come up with this rather complicated plan, mostly yesterday, to efficiently complete the decks in this game. My original goal was to put the save file from my cartridge onto my new 3DS XL, which of course has custom firmware installed on it. And but sadly, when I was testing this on Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't remember, I was not having very much luck. Even though I was following a guide step by step, when I booted it up on my 3DS, it kept saying the file was corrupted and it would be initialized, aka just wiping the file entirely. So, especially since this is one of my only working copies of Gen 1, as my spare copy of Yellow, my spare copy of North American Red, my Japanese copy of Red all have dead batteries, and neither of my working American copies of Red and Blue have a completed save file. And there are some Pokemon that are also not obtainable in Yellow, and my initial plan was to, and the reason why I wanted to put it on the 3DS was to have an easier time with trading. But with that plan foiled, that just complicates things further, especially since my on my standard new 3DS, which isn't hacked, I have Pokemon. I played through Pokemon Blue on that, and that has one Pokemon that I really need, that I technically can't get in Red and Blue without altering the save file, and that is the other fossil, because in all three working North American copies of Gen 1 that I have, they all went with the Helix fossil instead of the Dome fossil, and my Virtual Console file of Blue has the Dome fossil, which was already restored. And so I was going to trade with my Virtual Console copy of Blue to get Kabuto. But since I am struggling to get the save file onto my 3DS, I will unfortunately need to do some save file altering with one of my Gen 1 copies, and it doesn't matter which version I choose, because they're both actually at the same point in the game. They're both at Celadon City with 3 badges, so it doesn't matter which version I choose. And I actually did already make those preparations, so I used PK Hex to alter my Blue save file so that I have a Helix fossil instead of a Dome fossil instead of a Helix fossil. And for the rest of the unobtainable Pokemon, instead of using other versions of Gen 1, because if I did that, then I would need both Red and Blue, because they don't make it easy. So I'm just using Pokemon Crystal instead, which does have a complete save file, and all the Pokemon that are missing from Yellow, I could just get in Crystal in one version, whereas in Gold and Silver, I need both versions, kind of like Red and Blue. So this has been occupying way more time than I would have liked, especially since in my tier list video, I said that this was my least favorite Pokemon game, and yet I'm going through all this trouble to complete the dex, which is even more ridiculous because to complete the dex in any pre-Black 2 and White 2 game is pretty much meaningless outside of a cool little diploma. So in other words, I'm just torturing myself for no reason. Okay, I actually do have somewhat valid reason. And that actually has to do with the fact that I got myself an OG Game Boy back in April. And I had to admit, I've actually been enjoying my time with this thing quite a lot. And last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, while I was hanging out at my town's firehouse to watch the step off for our Memorial Day parade, I took the Game Boy with me with Pokemon Yellow inserted, so I can just play on it while waiting for the parade to start. And yeah. So my new plan is to blitz through Pokemon Blue until I can get Cinnabar Island and get Kabuto, and then trade that along with Meowth, because Meowth is a Blue exclusive, and while I can get it in Crystal, it's a nighttime only encounter, and the clock in my copy of Crystal is a little off. So I can reset the clock. It's not that difficult, especially with all the tools and guides online. But if I don't need to do that and just get it through normal means without having to do a bunch of clock fixing, I'll just do that instead, especially since I do gotta trade with Gen 1, either Red or Blue anyway, so that I can get the trade evolutions, so might as well knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. So once I get Kabuto, that's when I'll start trading with Yellow, and then try to find a way to get it onto my 3DS. I am a little paranoid about my GB operator erasing that save, especially since I've made a lot of progress in Yellow since then. So what I might end up doing is, since I already have an older version of the save file backed up, I might just open up an emulator and capture the Pokemon that I caught in there, so that I have a backup should the GB operator decide to misbehave. And if it does, I could just put that file that I played on MGBA back onto yellow, so that I have some progress made, and then I can try to figure out how to get it on here, because the last Pokemon that I do plan on catching is, of course, going to be Mewtwo. Why not? And that's just the plan that I have for today. As the rest of the plans that I want to try and get done are to record a video script, because I did put out a poll on here on YouTube, on Twitter, and Tumblr on I think it was Tuesday night or Wednesday night. I think it was Tuesday night. Asking, hey, which of these 3 videos would you like to see first? And the Twitter and YouTube polls did not get any votes, and the Tumblr poll only got 1 vote. And that is, of course, my favorite shiny Pokemon list, which should be up by the time this vlog comes out, hopefully. So I'm going to try and, again, blitz through blue to Cinnabar Island, trade with yellow, or maybe a hold off on trading, because that's going to be a lot of progress that I got to make in blue alone. So I'll probably just get to that point in the game, take a lunch break, and then come back to my PC to record that script, and maybe then maybe afterward, as a way to rest my voice, I'll probably get to a drawing that I'm making on my iPad, because it's for Vulpix Day, which happens to land on the Switch 2's launch day. I might as well actually show you a glimpse of what that's looking like. Okay, and here's an early glimpse of that very drawing. It's just going to be Alolan Vulpix and Cantonian Vulpix sleeping. I could just do a redraw of their Pokemon sleep models. In fact, the head is just going to be a redraw of that aforementioned model, whereas most of the body is based on the screenshot that I got in Legends Arceus, and then the drawing for Cantonian Vulpix will just mostly be a redraw of the screenshot that I got in Scarlet, that I got last week. I haven't been drawing much, to be perfectly frank. Just been battling art block that has been lingering around for a little too long. I'm still in the sketching phase, so I'm hopeful that I can be done with this before next Thursday. But given how slow I've been with drawing as of late, I don't have hopes. But this is much simpler than what I've been working on as well in terms of art. Like this one of myself and my shiny Primarina Wish. The camera decided to focus on my hand. I don't appreciate that, but yeah, this one's been taking a while. I wanted to have this one be done for my birthday, and this one's been a little difficult to make, so I thought maybe working on something simpler. That's not what I wanted to tap. That's what I wanted to tap. Yeah, something simpler like this will be a little bit easier for me to work on, as it won't stress me out as much. But yeah, so yeah, but that's kind of my plan for today. Blitz through Pokemon Blue, record the script, have lunch in between, and then work on this drawing afterward. And plus, since today is Friday, and Honey, Brad, and I have been making a little bit of a effort to do weekly game nights on Friday nights. I'm assuming they'll want to do that tonight, so we'll likely be playing either Jackbox or Mario Kart, or one or the other, or maybe even both. We'll see how those two are feeling. But yeah, that's likely also going to be happening tonight, but that'll also depend on what plans that I have going on in the early evening. A lot going on for today that I want to get done, so I'm probably going to get to Pokemon Blue first, since that should take like 20 or so minutes with speed up in MGBA, so I'm going to crack on and see how I do. Okay. About 48 hours, less than 48 hours to go, actually, until the Switch 2 comes out. I haven't been able to do much of my own personal stuff for today, as I've been just really, really busy helping my family out with putting things over the past 2 days. Like moving stuff out of storage, and also installing air conditioners for the incoming heat that will be hitting most of the Northeast late week, especially on Thursday, aka when the Switch 2 will be releasing. So it's gonna be hot and humid on Switch 2's launch day, which is a good thing that we're going in the morning. So thankful about that. And but yeah, I just got home from dinner with my dad, and this is like my best time to actually work on some things, because I haven't been able to work on my drawing like at all today, and it's almost Thursday, so a little bit of a time crunch going on. I'm not centered in the frame. I'm exhausted. Also, I gotta trim my beard. So by the next clip, this will be trimmed. I also need a haircut, but that's for off camera me to take care of as I shake my phone. Anyway, so I do want to just relax for the evening, but I want to prioritize my drawing because I always want to get this done. If I have the energy to do it, I'll work on my favorite shinies countdown. Because I still have some footage to record for that. Because I did record my on-camera voiceover, so that part is done. So there's not a lot less I gotta record, other than all the editing, but that should be pretty easy to edit. And then, speaking of editing, I still haven't started editing this vlog as of this clip, so I should probably get these clips off of my phone so that I can at least start putting some of that together. But again, that's for off-camera me to take care of. I'm not gonna try and get this right on. I'm not gonna try and get this video up on Switch 2's launch day. Hopefully, by the time this does go up, it'll probably be like Saturday or Sunday. We'll see, but yeah, that's kind of the plan that I've got going on for tonight, and tomorrow will just be a drawing day. Just gotta work on that and nothing else. As our Echo Dot just tells us the weather forecast, because it is 6:30 p.m. Yeah, I get it. Anyway, yeah. Gotta relax for this evening while I draw. I'm definitely not gonna be finishing Super Mario RPG before Thursday. I have not picked up that game in like a few days, and it's Tuesday. It's June 3rd. Anyway, see you in the next clip, I guess. Next clip. I'm tired. I need sleep. Dawn of the final day. 24 hours remain. Or really less than 24 hours now. Either way, it's June 4th. So that means we have less than 24 hours to go until the Switch 2. That's freaking wild that I'm even saying that out loud. Yeah, this is crazy. So, but this last full day until the new console comes out, I am going to try and make this day as productive as possible. So, my plans for today are primarily to just focus on the Vulpix drawing. Don't know why I'm pointing down there when you can't even see my iPad, but yeah. That's going to be my primary focus for today, especially since, as of when I'm getting this clip, it is already June 5th in Japan, which means that it's, of course, Vulpix Day and also Switch 2 launch day there. And for the former, there's already a lot of Vulpix art that I'm seeing on Twitter and Blue Sky, and yeah, I've been kind of resharing. I've been kind of reposting a lot of them. And that's kind of further inspiration to finish mine so that I can join in on that little mini celebration of one of my favorite Pokemon. So, again, biggest focus for today Additionally, if I have time, and that's a big if, I want to try and edit a couple videos. One of which is, of course, this vlog, as getting a head start would be very beneficial. And also, the other video would be, of course, my favorite shiny Pokemon list, which at this point is not going to be up by the time this vlog comes out. Drawing and this vlog are kind of taking a bigger priority for me. So that video will likely be up after this one goes up, which is fine. That way you guys know what's actually going to come next, despite the poll that I put out on social media like last week. Either way, so, in fact, I even wrote down an entire checklist on my iPad's notes app. That's how locked in and serious I am about this whole thing. So, either way, I'm just going to focus on the Vulpix drawing for as much as possible today. And I think during my lunch break, I will either catch up on last week's episode of Pokemon Horizons, or maybe watch an episode or two of Precure, depending on what I'm feeling by the time I sit down to eat lunch. And if I have any spare time that isn't being used for productivity today, that's probably when I will continue some Super Mario RPG. I really wanted to try and use my Switch 1 as my primary console for just one last time before the Switch 2 comes out, but looks like that is not going to be happening, and I had one other video that I wanted to make, but that will likely to also have to wait, as I've kept the boxes for the things that I wanted to make a video about out for weeks, and I haven't gotten to them at all yet. So, you guys will know what that video will end up being. Some of these smaller videos, so like this vlog, or not really smaller, but rather simpler projects, such as this vlog, my favorite shiny Pokemon list, and one other video. Whoa, sudden edit right there. Random phone call came in, but either way, yeah. Plan for today, Vulpix drawing first and foremost, and if I have any additional time, edit this vlog. I want to try and get that started, at least by tonight. And then anything else that I have spare time for, I'll try to fit in. But yeah, I wanted to try and use my Switch 1 one last time as my primary console, but that's not likely going to be happening with the Switch 2 so close. And I'd rather be using my free time being more productive. I don't know why I'm not doing a good job at keeping myself centered in the frame. And oh, look at that, freshly trimmed beard. Anyway, I'm gonna stop wasting time trying to get footage for this vlog. I'll do further planning for how I want this to continue off camera. So, let's see how today will go. Okay, it's been a few hours since that last clip. And I did spend most of today working on the Vulpix drawing. I'm nearly done with the Alolan Vulpix, so we're really going to be cutting it close, like very, very close. I took a dinner break, had some mac and cheese, and my stomach hated it, so I spent like almost an hour on the toilet. So that caused an unfortunate delay in getting the drawing done, but I'm going to go take my shower so I can just relax for the night and try to work more on the drawing. I just have the tails of the Alolan Vulpix to finish, and then I can get started with Cantonian Vulpix. Cantonian Vulpix should be a little bit easier since I've drawn Cantonian Vulpix more often than Alolan Vulpix, and usually I have an easier time with Cantonian anyway, since especially when it comes to the tail, since they're more distinctly separated, unlike Alolan Vulpix. But that's a detail important too. But anyway, I'm gonna go take my shower, get a snack, and relax for the night. Hopefully I'll get to at least finishing the lines for the whole drawing, so that way, if I don't get this done tonight, which is looking like it won't be, I can at least finish up with the coloring and the shading in the morning. So, either way, that's probably going to be wrapping up this Switch 2 launch eve. And then, yeah, time to roll on with the morning. I'll probably include a couple clips of me working on the drawing as we make our way to Best Buy. But either way, see you guys tomorrow morning for the Switch 2. It's exciting. I hate mornings. It's not even 9 a.m. But it's Switch 2 launch day. It's June 5th. Couldn't quite finish my Vulpix drawing. But we're about to head to Best Buy to pick everything up. We gotta get breakfast first because I'm hungry and I can't function if I don't eat shortly after waking up. So that's what we're gonna do. And then, it's off to Best Buy. So, I don't know what else I can add to this. I am so tired. I'm very clumsy this morning. So, I'm just gonna stop this clip here and get myself ready so that we can head out of the house. And, yeah, I'll see you there. Time for one last adventure together, buddy. It's hard to believe that it's not even June 5th. Like, we've been looking forward to this day for so long. And don't get me wrong, I love the Switch 1. It's, like, my favorite console of all time. But, after 8 years, I think it's a fair assumption to say that it's about time to move on. And, the Switch OLED has been, my primary Switch ever since I got it in late 2021, around the time that Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl came out. So, and like, this thing's been incredible, and we will be doing some comparing between all the models of the Switch, as well as the Steam Deck, just for fun. Even though this is not really the device that the Switch 2 should be compared with, but you know what? I've got these two for size reference, so we're gonna do it anyway, just because I can. Anyway, let's actually hit the road. Alright, y'all. We've got everything. So, I don't know if I said this earlier in the video. I'll probably remember when I do get around to editing it, but I got the console, and I did get Mario Kart World separately. I could have gotten the bundle, but I like having my physical games, so I didn't mind paying a little extra to get the game separately. Got a 256 gig microSD Express card, and ones I were looking at when I was pre-ordering everything, I actually found this for a slightly lower price than some stuff I was finding on Amazon, so I was like, I'll go with the Nintendo branded one, and got the Pro Controller, and we will be unboxing all this stuff when we get home, and I've got a pretty decent story to tell with our time at Best Buy, but anyway, let's get all this stuff home and open it up. We are home. Got everything out of the bag because the bag was starting to rip in the car. Likely just because of all the weight. Yes, I know. You're excited to have us home. It's like we weren't home all day, even though we were only gone like 2.5 hours. You want to watch me unbox some stuff? Do you? I'm taking that as a yes from Coco. Fine, I'll let you stay. Big yawn. Let's get all this stuff open. Okay, well, got everything all laid out. And yes, my GameCube NSO controller had arrived too. It arrived right as I was setting this whole thing up. So, yeah, so we have 5 things to open up. And I know a lot of you want to see the console first. I do too. But I actually want to open everything from least exciting to most exciting. So, let's get the SD card out of the way, and then we'll probably move on to Mario Kart World, the controllers, and then finally the console. So I'm gonna set the tripod down, and we'll open all this stuff up. Alright, first up, the microSD Express card. This is the only format of microSD that is compatible with the Switch 2, so standard microSD cards do not work with the Switch 2. Now, I don't have a card reader that supports microSD Express, but to my knowledge, you can use these with current SD card readers that aren't microSD Express. You just won't be able to take full advantage of the faster read-and-write speeds that these cards offer. And opening these cards is always a pain in the neck. I hate opening up SD cards, so gonna try my best to get this opened up. Alright, well, there it is. Oop, and as it got loose, but there we go. There is our Mario-style Samsung microSD Express card. Alright. Got the boring out of the way. Now, let's get to some of the actually exciting stuff. Okay, figured that the next thing that we'll take care of is Mario Kart World. So, it's, I mean, there have been, images of the inside of the case online that have already been posted over the past, even the past, 24 hours. Shrink wrap does not want to come off. There we go. Alright. And the reveal? Yep, it's very red on the inside, but the graphics do look kind of cool, even despite the fact that, it's not a true translucent plastic, as it's, of course, red translucent, but there is our Switch 2 cartridge. It's so red. I'm noticing that the red on the cartridge itself is a bit more of an orange red compared to the red that's on the Switch 2 banner up top. You probably can't see that well on the camera, but I definitely notice it in person, and it's especially noticeable against this red plastic, so that's cool. Alright, next up is the GameCube NSO controller. This is the only thing that I couldn't pick up in person from Best Buy, just because of the fact that it's a Nintendo Switch Online controller, and they're typically only sold on Nintendo's online store. So, yeah. Anyway, wow, no seal to crack this time. Actually, kind of nice. I mean, we all know it's just going to be a typical unboxing of an NSO controller, but this time it's, of course, the GameCube. It's been a while since I've actually opened one of these things, to be honest, but here we go. There is our GameCube controller. I've never actually had a GameCube as a kid, and yeah, it definitely feels like just a modern GameCube controller. Oh wow, I'm noticing that they vastly improved this D-pad. It feels nowhere near as stiff. It feels a lot more responsive, and wow, there's actually a little bit of click to it, unlike the original GameCube controller. Wow, this actually feels really good. I'm pleasantly surprised about that. I was expecting the D-pad to feel identical to the original GameCube controller, and the face buttons, they feel like they have a little bit more feedback too. It's not quite as soft of a feel as the original. And the triggers especially have a much softer click. Z is also quite clicky. And you know, ZL is ZL. Anyway, there's our C button, home, and capture along with our pairing button. Got a USB-C port right there, and I assume there's going to be a USB-C cable at the bottom of the box. And there it is. Alright, yep, it's the same style of USB-C to A cables that they were using with the Switch 1, so I probably won't be needing this, because I have plenty of these cables. Actually, I'll take it out of the box. I'll take it out of the bag anyway, because you can never go wrong with USB-C cables. Plus, Nintendo actually does make some pretty good USB-C cables, as opposed to the cheaper ones that a lot of third-party controllers tend to come with. And there we go. All right. Quite a long cable. I'd say this is probably around like 6 or so feet, so probably around 2 meters or so. And the cable itself is a little bit thinner compared to what they were using with the Switch 1. That's okay. I mean, it's just a cable. No need to go in depth about a cable. Anyway, better put the twist tie back in the box as well, so I don't lose that. Anyway, so yeah, I got this controller just in advance, even though I don't plan on using GameCube on day one, just because you know, I'm not really into any of the games that are launching for the GameCube on Switch 2. So I'd rather just have this when more of the games that I'm personally interested in, like Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness, when those come around, I'll have this at the ready. So I'm gonna clean all this up so we can get to the Pro Controller. All right, one more controller to go before we get to the controllers that are with the console, the Pro Controller. Okay, let's get this opened up. Alright, we are in, and just slide it out. And there is yet another USB-C cable at the top this time, as opposed to at the bottom of the box like before. Probably won't be opening that, because like I got the one from the GameCube controller. And here is the Pro Controller itself. Alright, there we go. Definitely a cleaner look compared to the original as I hit my tripod. We did lose the translucent plastic of the original, but I'm noticing that the new one has a bit of a softer touch finish on the plastic as opposed to what we had before. Now granted, this Pro Controller is quite old and worn down, but we don't have this texture on the grips anymore. But of course on the back we see we now have GL and GR back buttons, so that's cool. And of course we got our headphone jack on the bottom, which is where the player indicator lights used to be on the Pro Controller. Those I believe are now on the top. Yes, they're on the top on the new Switch 2 Pro Controller. And D-pad, okay, at first feels kind of similar. I mean, it doesn't feel too bad at first. So I'm hoping that this doesn't get the same kind of accidental inputs that this one was very prone to. This was one of my least favorite D-pads on any controller. It felt fine, but it wasn't all that responsive. So supposedly this was improved. So yeah, looks are definitely deceiving. So I'm hopeful that this does feel better. And another thing that I'm noticing too is that the face buttons, at least on mine, are softer and much quieter. I don't know how much you're going to be able to hear that because of the air conditioning running in the background, but yeah, I definitely noticed that compared to the original Switch Pro Controller, these are much louder too. In fact, I'm going to go turn off my AC so I can do a quick sound test of these face buttons compared to the original. But I'll keep the AC off for the rest of this so that it's a little bit quieter so you can hear it better. But anyway, ergonomic. Wow, these sticks feel very, very smooth. Whoa, and the texture feels on the stick caps feel very good too. The actual feel of the grips themselves and the overall shape of the controller feels very similar, if not identical, compared to the original Switch Pro controller. But just everything feels a lot smoother, and these sticks are. It almost feels like there's no friction at all. It's kind of tough to describe because there's definitely friction, but you don't hear it. It's almost too smooth, but it feels good. And the plus and minus buttons have a lot more travel to them compared to the original, which were quite flat. So these stick out quite a bit more. Same goes for the home and capture buttons. But yeah, and even the shoulder buttons have a little bit of a softer feel compared to the original. Yeah, these were definitely a lot clickier. I've had some issues where my shoulder buttons would sometimes not completely register, even though I'm pressing them down, especially if I'm like around here, especially on my L and R buttons. Triggers have no issues, but like if I'm pressing them like closer to the center of the button, that's where they feel more responsive. But I like having my fingers resting like right here, so hopefully these will be more responsive all around. But yeah, so far first impressions on this controller, this feels good. This feels really, really good. Very much excited to be using this now. Even though I think this is gonna have the same battery life as the original, but I'm probably gonna be using this in wired mode because my setup here in my bedroom, I sit too far away from my TV for the wireless signal to stay stable without much input latency. Because I have had times where I would get spontaneous input lag with my Switch Pro controller when I'm using my Switch in TV mode on my bedroom TV. And it's because I'm sitting like almost 10 feet away from the dock, so that's probably that'll do it. So yeah, so I'm probably just gonna do the same thing here where I'll just have a cable plugged in all the time. But anyway, that's all the accessories. So now let's get to the console itself. Oh, this is exciting. Now it's time for the main event, the Switch 2. And the box is actually quite small. I thought it was going to be like similar in height, at least, to the like Switch OLED box. But no, it's actually quite small, albeit quite dense. So anyway, let's take a quick look around the box. So not sure if I could just do that. Yeah, so there's that side. There's the back on the other side. And there's the bottom right there. I'm covering up my serial number, and we have a table of contents right there. But we're not going to be worrying about that because we're about to get the single boot up, so let's just do that. Oh, and there it is. Wow. That's definitely big. All right. Let's get to the console itself so we can, and this actually doesn't, at first glance, it's actually not too bad in terms of its weight. I thought it was gonna be much heavier, but it's actually, it feels slightly lighter than its size, even though it is quite a big device. So let's just slide this out of here, and there's already some speckles already on the screen cover, so definitely gonna want to get a screen protector on this thing. In fact, I'm gonna do that right now. And there we have it, screen protector installed. And now let's take a quicker look at the console before we take a look at the Joy-Con. So the back looks very clean. In fact, let me get my Switch OLED so we can take a look at it. Because this body looks like it's pretty much mostly based around the Switch OLED. In fact, I need to get these better centered in the frame. There we go. And yeah, the back looks pretty clean, although matte black plastic. The that's probably gonna get smudged up and have some scratches over time, like on my Switch OLED. But this still looks really good, and so we got that new kickstand. All right, this does feel quite sturdy, even if it doesn't span the length, the entirety of the back panel, unlike the Switch OLED. So I am curious about how this is going to age. And of course, that is where our microSD Express cards go. In fact, let me go ahead and get that inserted right now. There we go. All right, SD card inserted. Cool. All right, and then on the bottom, it'll focus. There we go. There's our USB-C port, now capable of outputting to HDMI 2.1. We have our speaker vents for our intake for this, or could it be for the vent intake? Maybe for the for the air intake. We have our speakers right there. And on the top, we have our main exhaust, our second USB-C port, headphone jack, game card. So how does this open up? Oh, okay, so it lifts up and out. Okay, so it's not like how it is here, where it just detaches like that. So instead here, you have a little notch right here, and lift up and out. Okay, that makes sense. And yeah. Then of course our volume and power. Already the volume buttons feel noticeably better than the volume buttons on the Switch OLED. I never liked these buttons. Anyway, so that's the console. Now let's get to the rest of the stuff that's in the box, starting with the Joy-Con 2. And already these, wow, there's definitely more of a noticeable weight gain with these compared to the original Joy-Con, and these definitely feel quite big and very similar texture to the Pro Controller. And they're very, very thin. They're just as thin as the original, but they actually feel pretty nice. Oh, the sticks feel good. Finally. It's similar. It's just as smooth as the sticks on the Pro Controller. This was very much unlike the original Joy-Con, where moving the stick around was it was not smooth at all. It was quite rough. So on the buttons, they do feel similarly flat, not quite as bad as the original Joy-Cons. SL and SR are quite big, and they feel like proper buttons to press now. ZL and ZR are also, both sets of shoulders feel a lot bigger, and they taper off the edge much more compared to the original Joy-Cons. So already ergonomic wise, these feel quite good. So see how these attach to the console. So just do that, and there we go. And there's the Switch 2 in handheld. And yeah, this is quite big, but yeah, again, it doesn't feel too bad in terms of its weight. It actually feels it feels light for its size. The Switch OLED, it definitely felt a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say it was heavy, but you definitely feel the weight. But even so, it's nowhere near as beefy as like the Steam Deck. So despite the fact that it's significantly larger, it actually feels quite good for its size. So I feel quite okay with the size increase, as I think the ergonomic gains will be much appreciated too, because the Switch in handheld mode was never the most comfortable, even if it was my preferred way of playing. Anyway, I hit the tripod. Let's set these aside so that we can continue into the box. So let's see here with this top tray. There's just our very brief paperwork, just health and safety. We have our new HDMI 2.1 cable, which is what we needed to enable 4K at 120 frames per second in TV mode, and luckily my TV does have a 120 Hz refresh rate, so I can take full advantage of that increased frame rate. Of course, not every game will support 4K 120, but it'll still be nice to at least have that increased frame rate regardless. Actually quite thin for an HDMI 2.1 cable, because the one that comes with like the Xbox Series X, quite beefy. And then we just put the twist tie back in the bag, and you actually see on the bag here, ultra high speed cable, which is, well, again, what we need for that increased frame rate. And here are the new straps for the Joy-Con 2, which have got quite the redesign from the original, which before had like these little extensions for like the SL and SR buttons, but now they're much slimmer and more open. So let's take a look. First time detaching the Joy-Con 2. Oh, that feels good and quite snappy, actually. All right, so let's see here. So I assume it just goes like, oh, you gotta match the symbols first. All right, and there we go, just like that. All right, and then for the other one. All right, I do like how they're color coded to the side rails, but again, different shades of red for, at least for the right Joy-Con 2. The left one, almost an identical shade of blue. And there we go. All right. And you can see how that release mechanism works. It really is just this little piece of plastic pushing away to detach themselves. We see it right there. There we go. All right, cool. Neato. So let's just get these reattached to the console before I lose them. And wow, those magnets are actually quite strong. I wasn't putting much effort, and these feel a lot easier to put on and take off compared to the sliding mechanism of the original Switch. I fidgeted with this a lot, but yeah, wow. Okay, before I get too distracted, let's lift this top tray out of the way. I had to hide that serial number, and this is all the stuff for like the Joy-Con 2 and the dock. So let's get to the grip first. And I'm very curious about how this is actually going to feel, because it's quite flat, as you can see right there. Let me go get my original Joy-Con grip. Okay, so I've got my original Joy-Con grip right here, so we can see next to the new one. It's quite bigger, but the grips themselves are flat on the top, as opposed to what we had with the original, where if I can do this correctly, where there was a little bit of a lump going into the Joy-Cons. Even so, this still felt quite small, so I don't mind the Joy-Con grip. It wouldn't be my first method of playing Switch 1 games in TV mode, though. All right, let me get the straps out of the way so that I have a little bit more space on this table. And let's see how this will feel, even though I'm just going to be sticking to the Pro Controller. So just that, and that. Okay, so yeah, I was kind of afraid of that. So you definitely feel a little bit of a gap between the edge of the grip and the Joy-Con 2. It's the inner sides of your index fingers are not really resting on anything compared to the original, where it kind of just felt a little bit more natural in the hand, despite the size. So I think this is just an unfortunate side effect of the fact that the Joy-Con 2 are magnetic now. But yeah, I still would have liked something over here so that a little bit more of a natural curve just leaning against here, because as it stands, it feels fine. It feels fine. Again, not my favorite, but I do like the size increase compared to the original Joy-Con grip, but it still looks and feels a little awkward. This was one of my bigger, and yeah, you can see the profile right there. That gap might get a little uncomfortable after a while. So I think this is where third-party grips are definitely going to reign supreme in this regard. But again, I think this is just an unfortunate side effect of the new attachment mechanism for the Joy-Con 2. So there probably wasn't much that Nintendo could have done. And we can also see the optical sensor for the mouse mode for the Joy-Con 2. So that's kind of neat. Alright, let's get all this out of the way. Next up is our power supply, which is much, much slimmer. Certainly smaller than what we had with the original, but quite a dense feeling brick. I don't remember the capacity of this. Oh, it's 60 watts. It says it right there. Okay. So we do have a beefier charger which, compared to the original Switch, which I think maxed out at around like 35 watts or so. And I do like the fact that the cable is detachable this time, unlike the original Switch charger where it was a much bigger brick with a permanently attached cable. So huge upgrade. I don't remember if this is a GAN charger though. I would assume no. And then we have our very neatly wrapped up USB-C cable. Again, thinner cable compared to the original. So let's see how long this is. This doesn't feel all that large of a cable. I'd say it's a similar, if not identical, length to the cable that they're including with their first-party controllers. So again, probably around like 2 meters or so. Alright, I'm gonna set that aside along with the charger, because I will be hooking that up because we're gonna get to the dock next. And finally is the dock. Oh yeah, that's definitely heavy. Much heavier than the original. And that's mainly because of the fact that, you know, we have a fan in the back. So there we go. Alright, you can see the vent output right there. There's our AC adapter, HDMI out, and an Ethernet jack. So this is the same setup that's on the Switch OLED dock, where instead of having the third USB port right here, you have an Ethernet jack, which is kind of nice for those that prefer having Ethernet. And of course, you know, this back panel is completely detachable as opposed to being on a hinge like the original Switch. So this has a lot of similarities with the Switch OLED stock in many ways. Of course, you know, it's bigger, it's heavier, and it's a bit more curved at the top with our Switch 2 branding over there. It's edges in the plastic as opposed to being indented like on the Switch OLED. And then we have our external USB ports. I believe there's just still USB 2. And you have to count through the slots in right there. All right. So, let's see what this looks like with the console in the dock. All right, moment of truth. And there we go. That's the complete Switch 2 look. And it looks magnificent. Oh, man. Oh, I'm so excited to use this. Oh, man. All right. So, I'm going to clean all this up so we can do some more size comparisons, and then we will finally get this thing set up and ready to go. All right. So, let's start with, of course, not only the Switch OLED, but also the original Nintendo Switch, just to give you a general idea of how much bigger the Switch 2 is compared to the full-size Switch 1 models. And you know, it looks bigger than it really is, especially when you have stuff like cases and whatnot. But you know, in person, it actually doesn't feel quite as huge of a size increase. I think the more noticeable thing is that it's significantly taller. I don't notice the increase in width as much compared to the height, because like, yeah, the Switch 2 is noticeably taller, but I think in the long run this will still feel better than these two. And then just for fun, here's the Switch Lite, which is even smaller, and the Switch 2 just absolutely dwarfs the Switch Lite. Yeah. Yeah, I do kind of wish that we had a light size Switch 2 at launch, but it looks like Nintendo will be planning on maybe doing a light version down the road because this is it's not a small handheld. It's not a small handheld at all, and like the full size Switch and Switch OLED models, they're already a little bit on the large side for conventional handhelds. Well, I say conventional. Well, this is a more conventional handheld than these two, but you get what I mean. But to some people, this might be a bit too big of a size for them, and I get it. As granted, I have a Steam Deck, and like this is the largest handheld that I am willing to carry. But if I rearrange everything on this table, even so, the Switch 2 is still noticeably smaller in size than the Steam Deck. It doesn't look like much, especially when in terms of width, and maybe even in terms of height. They're very, very similar in terms of height. Maybe the Steam Deck is like a smidge taller, but thickness-wise, I mean, it's like night and day. You could stack like 2 Switch 2s in here to get the thickness of on the Steam Deck, and again, this thing is much, much heavier to the point where it can feel a little unwieldy, but this is a more niche product. As much as I love it, it's not quite as mainstream as like a Nintendo console. So for a lot of people, this will probably be the largest handheld that they're going to be willing to carry, if not even using the handheld mode at all, because they feel like the size is just that big, that much, too much for them. And again, I get it. I carry big handhelds, but there's just something a little interesting about how big the Switch 2 is. I mean, a lot of newer handhelds these days, especially in the handheld PC space, they're similarly large, but they're thicker and heavier. Whereas this, it's up there in terms of physical size, but thickness and weight is definitely nowhere near as bad. So I think again, the size might feel a lot more manageable than one would assume. So it's gonna be interesting living with this thing. So anyway, let's clean all this up and get it set up. Okay, so I was recording like a bunch of footage for like showing the software and pairing things up and just talking about some games that I got downloading going on. But as soon as I finished recording one of my earlier clips, I was like, why am I showing all of this when this is solely meant to be a vlog? So that was like a few hours wasted. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get the dock all hooked up, and then just let this thing sit in the dock, because I definitely need to. There's still a lot of games and updates that I need to download. I haven't started playing any games yet. There we go. I could do English, because I'm just focused on getting all the updates installed, and it's not even all of them yet, as I have many more Switch 1 games that I just put back in their cases that I do also want to get their updates installed, but I'll probably just take care of all of that overnight, because all this updating is kind of taking a while. Plus, I want to take a lunch break. So, yeah, I'm gonna get this puppy all hooked up, and yeah, then I'll give some further first impressions afterward. Alright, so originally I was just gonna wrap it up here, because I still got, but I haven't really been able to give many other impressions, because like I haven't been able to play any games just because of all the updates that I've been downloading, and like it's 2:15 p.m. and I'm still not done. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'll do one more clip on June 6th, so tomorrow on Friday, to give some further impressions and give some actual impressions of mainly Mario Kart World, because I do want to try and start that today, and I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to do it, probably tonight. And also, I still have my Vulpix drawing to finish. This is a long day. Okay, so I finally decided to start playing the game, and of course the first thing I wanted to try was Pokemon Scarlet, because, like, this was, like, one of the games that really needed a Switch 2 update. And look at this load time. That's so much faster than how it was on the Switch 1. It's crazy. That's gonna be my first clip. And why not? Let's go ahead and... I'm gonna catch this Popplio as a commemoration of... Okay, you don't want to be caught. Alright then. You can't hear anything from the TV because I have my headphones plugged in. And also, weird thing is that, to use the headphone jack on the Switch 2 Pro Controller, it needs an update. So stupid. Not this Popplio. This Popplio is a baby. Alright, so it's been about 2 days since I started using the Switch 2. I kind of forgot to record a clip yesterday, so I'm gonna do one today, 2 days later. This will likely be 3 or 4 days later, depending on when I get this video posted. So I figured I'll give some further impressions on the Switch 2 now that I have had a little bit more time to spend with it. Now, I'm going to keep my thoughts brief because I don't want this part to just drag the video on, because this vlog is long enough as it is, so I'll just do a quick little TLDR of the Switch 2. The first one is, well, the size. It is... I can't get over how big it is, but I've adjusted to the size rather quickly, and I think a lot of it is thanks to my Steam Deck, which is even bigger, bulkier, and heavier than the Switch 2. But thankfully, this feels manageable, and I think it's because, you know, it's light for its size, at least to me, and also it feels thinner than it actually is. Like, it's the same thickness as the Switch 1, but, you know, significantly bigger device. It feels thinner than it actually is, but very flat feeling device, so ergonomic wise, it's not as great as it could be, especially since, you know, the Steam Deck has, like, proper grips. Now, granted, this isn't exactly the best device to compare to Switch 2 to, because, you know, this is meant for a completely different audience. But yeah, ergonomic wise, for the Switch 2, it's marginally better than the Switch 1, but, you know, if you've gotten hand cramps while using the Switch 1 in handheld mode, then you likely will still get those cramps from the Switch 2. I was feeling those a little bit, especially after, like, an hour or so of playing. So, definitely something to keep in mind, and you'll want to pick up a grip or, like, a handheld mode controller. The latter of which are kind of rare on the Switch 2, given that it's so new. So, but I imagine that as time goes on, that problem will only get easier to solve. Another thing that I really like is that the hardware itself just feels really premium. I don't have the same kind of build quality complaints I had with, like, the original Switch. The Switch OLED felt pretty good in terms of build quality, but, yeah, the Switch 2 feels so much better, and especially the Pro Controller. This may very well be my favorite Nintendo controller. It feels so high quality, and it fixed all the issues that I had with the original Switch Pro Controller, so, this is just a phenomenal controller to use, and the addition of the headphone jack, as annoying as it is that it requires an update to use the headphone jack, it's worth it because, like, yeah, it's $85, but goddamn, this thing feels so good. It's so much better than the Joy-Con 2. You got those back buttons, which are on the Joy-Con 2 charging grip, but I wasn't all that impressed with the Joy-Con 2 grip, so I'm probably not going to get that. Plus, like, I like using headphones whenever I play games, and having that headphone jack on this controller is very, very welcome. So, big fan of the overall feel of the hardware, especially the Pro Controller. And the games I've been playing on this thing, which has mainly just been Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Mario Kart World, have been phenomenal. Especially Scarlet and Violet, like, this thing vastly improved Scarlet and Violet, so it feels like a new game. It feels like a new game. Like, the frame rate, it feels too smooth. I think it's just because of the fact that we've been so used to the bad frame rates of Scarlet and Violet for too long. So, yeah, I just kind of been screwing around with Scarlet and Violet more than Mario Kart World. I haven't put too much time into Mario Kart World, but it's a pretty fun game based on the limited amount of time that I have had with it. So I definitely plan on spending more time playing that game, getting to know the tracks and the overall feel of the game, because it does feel different to play than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So more time will definitely be needed. Yeah. I will say, I do find myself fidgeting with just taking off the Joy-Con 2 and putting them back on, just because like it's super satisfying to just take them off and put them back on. And it's been doing that, where if I were to take the right Joy-Con 2 off and then like shortly put it back on, it will wake up the Switch 2 from sleep mode, even though I clearly did not press the home button. So I don't know what's going on with that. So it's possible it's just a software bug, which could potentially be fixed. But I noticed that when you disconnect the Joy-Con 2, they don't immediately switch to wireless mode compared to like the Switch 1. But you know, it's such a minor issue that it doesn't bother me at all. Like, the overall feel and just the overall experience just feels great. The screen on here is phenomenal. It's such a big screen, and like the only thing that it's not as good as this compared to the Switch OLED is color vibrancy, but everything else about this is just so much better, from the higher resolution to the higher frame rate, and the fact that it's just a bigger screen. It feels so immersive when playing in handheld mode. So even though the size is definitely not for everybody, I think I'm just gonna be willing to just put up with the awkward size for handheld mode to just play in handheld mode, because of how immersive the screen is. It's so nice to just play games on this thing, and play games in 1080p in handheld mode is just phenomenal. Although battery life sucks. We knew that going in, because Nintendo claims that it'll get around like 2 to 6.5 hours of gameplay, which is worse than the first model of Nintendo Switch 1, which is very unfortunate, especially since, the Switch OLED can go all the way up to like freaking 9 hours. That's because it had a more energy efficient CPU, and this is so much more powerful. So that's probably the trade-off for being such a newer device. Plus, like, it's so thin that it probably doesn't have as much space for an even bigger battery than it reasonably could have. So I do hope at some point down the road that we'll get another model of the Switch 2 that does have better battery life. But for the time being, just got to be a little bit careful with the battery life, and you'll definitely feel the battery constraints if you limit the charge rate to 90%. But that's more or less meant for people that primarily tend to use this for TV mode anyway, instead of going back and forth between handheld and docked mode. So as someone who primarily plays in handheld mode, I'm okay with going all the way to 100%, because like I would just have even stronger complaints about battery life if I were to limit the charge rate to 90%. Anyway, that's enough about battery life. Something else I really like about the Switch 2 is definitely that kickstand. It feels very, very solid and rigid, and there's just so much tension on this kickstand. Trying to do this one-handed is not easy. Trying to cover my serial number here. But yeah, it's a very sturdy kickstand, despite how much of a slimmer profile it has compared to like the Switch OLED, which spanned pretty much the entire back panel. But yeah, it's also very easy to deploy as well, so no complaints here. And the fact that we can still charge while I'm using the kickstand is very, very helpful. I also forgot to mention the preparations to my setup before I got the Switch 2, so I gotta do some cable managing, so just got to excuse that. But prior to getting the Switch 2, I had my Xbox controller charging station right where the Switch 2 dock is, actually, and where the charging station is now is where my Super Nintendo used to reside, but I barely use this thing. So, as I don't have a good enough cable setup right now to easily use my SNES on my TV, and so combine that with how difficult and expensive it is to get physical Super Nintendo games, I was like, this is the console that I'll just have to unplug. And I also got a new HDMI splitter from Ugreen, because the one I had before, it only maxed out at 1080p and had 4 HDMI outputs, no, inputs, I meant. And this one is technically 8K, so HDMI 2.1, and it has 4K 120 FPS pass-through, which is great, and it has a 5th HDMI input, but I did not plug the Switch 2 in here, as I just wanted to have it contain some of my other HDMI devices, while my Xbox Series X, Switch 1, and Switch 2 take up the main HDMI ports on my TV. But yeah, also, I did record the setup, most of the setup at least, but that was among some of the footage that I decided to not include in the vlog. But there's a special setting for the Switch 2 that will play a little sound when you wake it from sleep mode while it's in the dock, and you can actually customize the volume for that, and it's actually kind of neat. It's not too loud, so I think I'll just keep it turned on all the time, because it's, I don't know, it's kind of fun. So, closing thoughts on the Switch 2 after, where is it? Here we go. After using it for 2 days, I really like what this thing has in store, and I'm really looking forward to trying out more of it as time goes on and more games come out, and I get used to the bigger form factor. So I think this thing has a bright future ahead of itself. I'm very happy with what Nintendo has cooked with this thing, and I look forward to using more of it. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a full dedicated video going over more of my thoughts on the Switch 2, because this is more meant to be a vlog about the build up to the launch of the Switch 2, so I don't want half of this video to just be talking about my experience with the Switch 2. That could be saved for its own video. So if you want to see that, maybe drop it down in the comments down below, and also leave a like and subscribe while you're down there. Love to have you around. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this episode of DsFreak Adventures. I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. This is DsFreak 9900, signing off.